anything?
I got all that.
Jewels enter Nirvana, a poem for Kosmish, who is the main character. It was you in that art gallery in a fog bank dream. It was you who I looked upon. It was you in the bed of curiosities, lying there listening to Coltrane. It was you who I saw, raven-haired, multicultural beauty, mind of orgasmic happenings. Waited many moons, many eons of mystic gatherings to glimpse at your goddess face and figure, to wade in the river of your thoughts. Songs set aflame near the lake of esoteric folk singers, despising the studio and living in the lap of luxurious company. Your words are historic documents found in the primeval mandala sands. Your art and musical gifts of extension, visions for the blind and operatic symphonies for the deaf. I am your grateful silhouette, the one who kisses your fingertips and caresses the nerves, massaging the worries and simmering them. And we exchange mutual glances, and we have each other passionately, and we kiss and make new constellation myths. Separation is a boulder balancing on a bindle, a grave for your loss, and yet another chapter of your life begins. Envy is a killer of silence, but oh, the Canterbury air seems grand in the homely abode. See others as they see you, the living embodiment of a jewel entering nirvana. You are the gem in a human rock pile, shouting, Sid is the reason for life. Equality is the eternal ruler. Poverty no more. Your problems come first. Your grand organ of a heart, the actual eighth wonder of the world. The naysayers have seen nothing yet. Grotesque canvas creation, the true beauty. Your smile speaks determination, hidden by unnecessary doubts. I am a satyr, a pan flute playing admirer of yours, as lowly as the forest soil, but higher than the clouds for you. And we synchronize brainwaves, and we touch and intertwine fingers, and we sing praises to living spirits in the dead of night. Thank you. And this one is more lyrical. This is one of 4 pieces in here that have turned into songs. And this is called The Lamb. I look in the mirror and the mirror breaks. Cracks in the glass, ugliness in the shards of one too many mistakes. Falling into that other portal, I see a silhouette of myself. This is who I am. No longer the spirit wolf of the evening. No longer the master maker of my parchment domain. Vulnerability, the name, the moniker of the Lamb. Lightning on either side, crashing down on confessional booths. Write it out and speak now. Do tell what massacres you committed in your youth. Sacrificial blood placed on every door. No ethereal hands will touch the firstborn of this house. Spirit avenger of the empire. Families live to see another day. Children yearn for another night of sand. And the elders look for the next queen to sire. Songs sung in the padded room. Cause and effect lead to sudden doom. Catastrophic, torrential uproar. For once the lamb guides us to the shore. Just a little lamb, grazing in the grass, legs shaking, knees buckling, salvage me. I turn to the shepherd, but the shepherd hands me the staff. An empty field before my eyes, irony takes the shape of a distant laugh. Tales of new reach the readership of 1,000 cult leaders. The followers never gave a damn. Paths not taken, sell countries by the currency. Troglodytes kiss their own image because no self-righteous human cares for a lamb. I've seen every tragedy known to us. Homicides planned, the dead pretending, never the better. Counter-protesters holding the cardboard of the cause they're defending. Riding the dragon to the underworld region, climbing the side of the Norse mountains, singing a secular humanistic psalm. Reading the poetries of the deceased, spouting the oral words of Greek fire, eating the futuristic fortune lines out of her poem. Just when conformity laid itself to rest, a haunting dream awoke the head seer. Building upon reflection, see the look of guilt through that same broken mirror. Just a little lamb bleeding in the meadow, legs shaking, knees buckling, let me taste the final hope.
Available in select retail outlets.
Hooray for Zuck.
And then
He's A1 steak sauce.
See? See, there will be there will be copies. And last but not least,
Mr. Zach Wise.
wow. Well, don't show this to anybody in France. So this is a new piece, and this came from sort of a suite I wrote. Some of you may know about it, but to those who don't, there was this great work of art. Normally I don't write pieces based on films, but I consider this one to be a very important work of art. It was the 1932 film called Freaks, directed by Todd Browning. It's the same person who directed the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi. And so it just not exactly physically, but I could relate a lot to it because of how they were persecuted in the film just consistently. And it's one of the only films to date that actually uses real sideshow performers. There was a living torso. You got to see him light a cigarette just using his mouth. There were a few little people. There was one person called the Living Skeleton. He did not have anorexia. There was just barely any skin above his bones. And so I wrote one stanza for each of the children, as they're called in the film. But there were also two different sections. One for what I call the Circus of Ethics, which centers on the three regular people who, on their side, they just see them as people. There's no persecution. And then part 3 is dedicated to 3 people who just consistently torment them. And that's a section what I call the Freaks. But this is the song I wrote at the very end, and it's just called the Coda of the Freaks. And it starts out with a couple of epigraphs. One from the film. Their code is a law unto themselves. Offend one, and you offend them all. And then the other one, their lyrics from a King Crimson song called Circus. Gloves raced round the ring, stallions stampeded, pandemonium seesaw. I ran for the door, ringmaster shouted, all the fun of the circus. So, Coda of the Freaks. We never asked to be birthed into this world, yet into this world we came. We attempt to seek out solace in this planet's normalcy. Your ocean mouths spit at our existence in shame. The methods you implore on the ordinary follow through with persecution. The torment you thrash upon us leaves us begging for execution. Why, Madame Tetralini, what must we only dance with the sunshine in the shunned forests of seclusion? Why have your words calmed us so, relieving our trauma-trodden hearts into bitter states of confusion? A Fraulein of artifice swoops down from the air to poison one of her own. Into a duck we reformed from the storm of comical divorce. A Herculean Neanderthal preys on those who he deems weak as stones. His strengthened brawn led to the rape of silver penetration with brutal force. A freak like you, a freak like me. Echoes of the circus, kin laughing at the other side of the show with their pig-faced children stuffing their faces in the stands. Point with your swine-bone fingers until your arms flap like crows. Away we travel to the hidden corners of the hinterland. A warning to those whose penalty is death by a tiger of Bengal. Offend one member of the family and you offend us all. Purchase the title, own terminology with pride, honored to be among the disfigured freaks, mental monsters they call us, committing verbal homicide. Step through these iron doors and you shall see a clown court of planet, orbiting around her heart with his glowing syllables. What more can we do to satisfy your every whim with great exhaustion? We retire to the tents beyond rebirth. We do not resemble semblances of your archetypal shapes. Exiled from conventionality, we weep under an elated sunset. Through fairy stories, we dream of unmasked, inclusive lives, loving parents, childhood marbles. No one can gander at our operatic phantom faces without howls so grim, for we have been pillaged of our own self-worth. A love life away from entertainment and chaos creates a path for nightmares and dreamscapes. You fear what you cannot understand. Your shelled mirror reflection reminds you in harsh momentary action. You are the freaks and we are the humans, the prosperous reaction. Thank you very much. So next Wednesday